Secretary-General, Senator Nolan has had an awful lot to say about 11 airmen. I understand that he was under the roof here yesterday. Did he tell you with regard?
I met him socially, and we did not discuss the issue at all.
He did not raise it?
He did not raise it, and we didn't discuss it.
I believe the Senator is quoted this morning as saying that he had a helpful discussion at the American mission. Would that mean that he had some reassurances about the release of the prize?
I think it's for the American mission to reply to that question. I saw the same new piece of news in the papers, but I am not in any way informed about that discussion.
Well, have you informed the American mission of anything that would reassure them?
The American mission is kept currently informed about the whole development.
Sir, can you tell us how you view the situation now with respect to the flyers, what the prospects are of their release, whether you consider it worthwhile or
Well,
situation fluid?
the situation is not kept fluid. The situation is kept under very strict control. My feeling on this issue, I have expressed it to you several times, and I can only repeat it. Contacts are continued, contacts which mean something in substance. I would not continue those contacts unless I felt that they served a useful purpose. That's, I think, the full reply. That's to say, I feel that this operation, which was started by the talks in Peking, is not concluded, and as long as it's not concluded, as long as possibilities are not exhausted, I don't see any reason to change my previous judgment. That's to say that the effort should continue, because there are sufficient chances for success for me to continue.
So do you consider that the recent decision of the American government to release the Chinese students as being a step towards the relaxation of tension you've been asking for as a condition for better relations between China and the United Nations states?
I would not like to put it into any such perspective. Let me say just simply that I welcome the decision in itself. It is, after all, a step which means that the difficulty has been straightened out, and the way has been smoothed out for a normalization of this special aspect of our problems. I wouldn't, on the other hand, as I said, like to link up with the more general question to which you referred.
Do you think that the refusal of the State Department to grant visas to relatives of these prisoners to go to China, the invitation of the government of Peking, hampered your chances of recruiting them out?
I feel that the present situation is not such a one in which the family visits would have been appropriate or indicated. The family visits have very many aspects, but you can easily see that they make sense in a situation of a slightly different type from the one we have just present, or which has been prevailing the last couple of months.
Any information which would lead you to anticipate the possibility of an attack on Matsu in the middle of April?
I have to rely on the information you provide me with in that respect, so I don't think I can add anything to your wisdom.
Mr. Secretary-General, you say that the time at present you do not believe is particularly appropriate for the families to visit China. Could you be more specific as to what has changed, which makes this time not as appropriate as the time when you originally revealed the invitation to China?
You will observe that after my visit to Peking, after early January, this whole rather tense situation has developed around Formosa Straits, and the debate has been going on, and the tension has been drawn to it all over the world. It's quite obvious that that means that family visits now would have to take place in an atmosphere rather different from the one in which the proposal was made by Mr. Shumlai.
Secretary-General, the Secretary Council dropped the Formosa question recently to permit consultations among governments. Do you know whether any such consultations are now going on, or whether any progress is being made?
Consultations have been going on, and consultations, I guess, are going on. not perhaps relating exactly to the question of when and if and how the matter might be reconsidered by the Security Council. I think what I say here is something which is common knowledge. The governments directly interested and concerned have, of course, followed the development with very great attention and care. Beyond that, I don't know anything.
So do you have any mental deadline on the prisoner question? That is, any date in your own mind in which you may decide to review the whole situation and then decide what to do?
Well, I would like to refer to a reply given to a very similar question by the President at one of his press conferences, I think in February, where he said that the question of deadlines and when an operation of this kind may be brought to an end depends so very much on current developments, how things look, that for a reason I think it would be rather unwise to pin down any special date as indicating the point where things have to be reconsidered or we should wind up the operation or anything of the kind. I wouldn't like to do that. On the other hand, it's a matter of course that I myself feel a certain impatience. That goes without saying. But I wouldn't translate that in calendar terms.
Mr. Hammarskjöld, some newspapers and other representatives of public opinion said during the last days that the moment has arrived for the UN to intervene again in the Formosa affair. That this would be the only solution. Have you any opinion about it?
I wouldn't venture to express any opinion on that here and now.
Sir, you expressed, you said that there was a continued contact between yourself and Peiping with respect to the flyers. May I inquire whether there has been any specific contact since the Chinese regime turned down the Security Council invitation to appear here?
Reply, yes.
Mr. Secretary-General, in view of the fact that Palestine is on the Security Council agenda again, 1 week after two major resolutions have been adopted, I wonder what you might think of the suggestion made by Dr. Urrutia of Colombia last fall, when he thought that a committee composed of ex-presidents of the General Assembly might be formed by the United Nations to tackle the entire Palestine question de novo and see if some genuine steps might not be made toward peace between Israel and the Arab states.
Well, the question, of course, has two different sides. One is the form. What Dr. Urrutia proposed was a rather specific form of good afternoon's committee. I think it's a little bit premature to express any views of what might be the proper form if and when such a step were to be taken. The other side of the question is, of course, the substantive one. And as to that question, personally, I do not feel that any departure from normal procedures just now would be the right thing. I think that it is better to keep it in the normal forms. After all, we have a quite considerable machinery in action. We have the UN representatives in the field. We have the Security Council. We have various governments directly interested and certainly doing what they can to help the parties. And we have, of course, though due modesty I say so, also the Secretariat. To add to that, an organization of the kind indicated may be wise at a certain stage, but I wouldn't personally consider that that stage is reached yet.
I may refer to the question of last week. I inquired whether you would care to express your opinion on Major General Byrne's 4-point program aimed at improving the present tense border situation. I believe this has added importance in view of the recent events in Egypt and Israel. I also wonder whether the Secretariat would be ready to support financially any program which Major General Byrne would propose in connection with the joint patrol and the barbed wire enforcement on the borders.
As to the program, I consider it personally to be a realistic and solid approach from the general side and from our representatives in the field. That's to say, it has my very full support and the full support of my colleagues in the Secretariat. It does follow that that program in itself will have also the practical support which we are able to give it. If there are added points, practical points of the kind you mentioned, and we find, we are agreed that that is a thing that should be done, I think that where there is a will, there is always a way, and we will certainly do our very best to give it necessary financial backing.
Sir, it has been suggested in some Middle Eastern press.
I don't think that is for me, who has not been present, to add to the comments on the discussions, where again we are kept well informed, but you know there is a difference between sitting at a table and just getting reports. So I don't think I have anything to say on that issue. It goes without saying that I am hopeful, moderately hopeful. I could really reply to your question by repeating what I said about my own negotiations. As long as people find it worthwhile to remain at a table and discuss, it does mean that they have a hope to get somewhere, and that's a hope that I think we who are less informed should share.
So have you any comment on Mr. Gromyko's visit to Stockholm? Could it be in connection with any of the topics we were doing?
I have no special information on Mr. Gromyko's visit to Stockholm. I think that what came out in the press concerning that visit probably covers the whole story.
Mr. Hammarskjöld, could you tell us when the contract of General Burns will expire with the United Nations?
It expires this summer.
Will it be renewed?
Well, you know, the principle which I want to follow is to have basically a fairly quick circulation on all posts of that character. However, it's a matter of course that that principle is a principle that may be confirmed by exceptions. I can't say at the present stage what the situation is likely to be in June. I just want to repeat that the basic principle, as evidenced last year, is one of short-term, 1 year, roughly 1 year circulation.
Would you care to make any comment of a general nature, perhaps, or any other nature you might choose, on the fact that within hours after the Security Council passed this resolution asking for cooperation from Israel and Egypt, the situation was like it was before, just like the Council had never acted?
I'm not quite sure it is as it was before, like it was before.
Would you say it become worse?
I haven't got sufficiently detailed information on what has happened in the 10 days, whatever it is, of the Security Council meeting, and for that reason I wouldn't like to comment on it in any detail. It's highly regrettable, that goes without saying, that the previous rather tragic clash in Gaza was not followed by a period, at least, the beginning of more peaceful conditions, especially with a very serious intervention which we had from the Security Council. I guess, however, that what has really happened, the background of what has happened, will be more clear tomorrow after the debate in the Security Council, which is going to take place, as you know, as a meeting called for Wednesday.
If the proposals of General Burns, these 4 proposals, are put into effect, do you think he will need more observers?
I don't know if there's a real need for it. If there is a need for it, he will not only certainly tell us at once, but he'll also get his wishes satisfied.
Mr. Secretary-General, in a few days you're going to chalk up your 2nd year, and I know you don't like statements about the anniversaries. Would you care to make a comment as to what field you think the UN has done its best work in those 2 years, or made the most progress?
I wouldn't like to make that kind of comment. I don't want to grade it. We are in the middle of the run, very much in the middle of the run. And if one runner seems to be a little bit more advanced than another one, you know that that really doesn't tell the story where they will be when we are able to make a fair assessment of what has been done. My general feeling is that the UN as such has held reasonably well its positions. In some respects the position has been strengthened. It may not always look so to you, ladies and gentlemen of the press, but I must say that I feel that I have a very good vantage point from which to judge those conditions. But we are not in the middle of the run, as I said before. That was a stupid term. We are in the beginning of the run. And for that reason, the satisfaction I may feel because of what I do consider a consolidation of certain positions is something which may serve as a basis for hopes, but not for any safe forecasts.